Hello everyone. Today we will discuss testing of hypothesis. So, testing of hypothesis. What is testing of hypothesis? First, we need to understand hypothesis testing. So, hypothesis testing we can define like it can be used to determine whether a statement about the value of a population parameter should or should not be rejected. In continuation, we need to understand statistical hypothesis. Once you have data, you are going to begin your analysis. Then, how will you make the statement of hypothesis? So, statistical hypothesis is an assumptions an assumptions or statement concerning one or more populations which we want to verify on the basis of information available from a sample which taken from the same populations. So this kind of the statement known as statistical hypothesis. So there are types of hypothesis. We need to understand what is the types of hypothesis. So there are two types of hypothesis. First one is null hypothesis, which is denoted by H0, or you can say H naught. And second one is the alternative hypothesis denoted by H1. So now next we'll discuss null hypothesis. So hypothesis formulated with a neutral or non-committal attitude of decision maker is called null hypothesis. Normally, this hypothesis is set with a hope of rejection and as we know is denoted by H0. So null hypothesis denoted by H0 and is a tentative assumption about a population parameter, which is known as null hypothesis. So null hypothesis is said in terms of no difference in average values or percentage between two or several population or no association between two or more categorical variables or factors. This is this statement we can state before begin analysis. So this type of hypothesis is called null hypothesis. On applying an appropriate statistical test, the null hypothesis is accepted or rejected with help of probability value or p value. We'll discuss it in coming slide. So if once we know the definition of null hypothesis, so let us understand with help of example. So we'll have more clarity about null hypothesis. So example, suppose for example, we want to compare cholesterol value in normal patient with the hypertensive patient. For the mean value, we may set the null hypothesis as, this is notation of the null hypothesis, H0 or H0 we can say. So this is colon, and we can write mean cholesterol value in normal patients, which is denoted by mu1, is equal to mean cholesterol value in hypertensive patient, which is denoted by mu2. Or we can say there is no difference between between normal and hypertensive patients in terms of mean cholesterol value. In notations, we can write null hypothesis mu1 equal to mu2. We see another example. Suppose, for example, percentage of babies born with low birth weight, LBW means low birth weight, in anemic women equal to percentage of babies born with low birth weight in normal women. Or we can say there is no difference between anemic del delivered by low birth weight between anemic and normal woman or mother. Notationally, we can notify P1 equal to P2. Another example, we can say there is no association between lung cancer and smoking. So, with help of this example, we can understand null hypothesis. Once we begin the analysis, statistical test, so we need to make state such kind of the null hypothesis statement. Now another type of the hypothesis, as we know, alternative hypothesis. So alternative hypothesis is an opposite statement of the null hypothesis. Always remember, opposite statement of null hypothesis, which seems to be true when null hypothesis is rejected and is denoted by H1. While a null hypothesis is stated, it has to be tested against a contrasting possibilities as a declarative statement is called alternative hypothesis. So alternative hypothesis denoted by H1, as we know in the beginning we have discussed it, and is the opposite of what is stated in the null hypothesis. It's a simple. So now we have example, we can have more clarity with help of this example. If we want to compare cholesterol value in normal patient with the hypertension patient, for the mean value, we may set the null hypothesis. No, so here we can write the alternative hypothesis. This is the typo error. So H0, so we are talking about the alternative hypothesis. This would be the H1, not a H0. You can write H1 here. So H1, mean cholesterol value in normal patient does not equal to mean cholesterol value in hypertensive patients, which is denoted by H1. And in notational form, H1, this is the H1, not H0. So you can say H1 mu1 does not equal to mu2. If you remember null hypothesis statement, mu1 equal to mu2. So alternative hypothesis just opposite, mu1 does not equal to mu2, where mu1 represents mean cholesterol value in normal patient, this one, we can say this one, and mu2 represents the mean cholesterol value in hypertensive patients. So it's just opposite statement of the null hypothesis. Now we have another example. See, again, this notation would be H1 because we are talking about the null hypothesis. So always remember, whenever you are talking about the alternative hypothesis example, so this is null hypothesis written here. This is typo errors. That means alternative hypothesis. So alternative hypothesis example: percentage of babies born with low birth weight in anemic women does not equal to percentage of babies born with low birth weight in normal women. So notationally, we can say this one H1. Always remember this is H1 because we are talking about the alternative hypothesis, not null. This is alternative hypothesis. So P1 does not equal to P2. That means alternative hypothesis is just opposite of the null hypothesis. Otherwise, if you are talking P1 equal to P2, that means null hypothesis. So this is the alternative hypothesis. So we have another example. We can say there is an association between lung cancer and smoking. So with help of this example, we can understand about null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Now, one important point I'll tell you, whenever we are going to analyze the data, these following steps we need to follow. First of all, suppose in your hand data, you are going to begin the analysis. Statistical analysis, it may be parametric or non-parametric, it depends on your uh, previous background characteristics. So we assume you are going to analyze your data with help of statistical techniques. So beginning of the analysis, we need to create statement of the null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis with help of your objective. You will create, then you will choose the sample statistics, then you choose the level of significance. What is the level of significance? In coming video, I'll explain it, this one, and then we'll compute the statistics, then we'll find the reason of rejection. After that, we need to write down the decisions about objective. So these following steps is important whenever we are going to analyze the data. So this is about hypothesis, statistical hypothesis, types of hypothesis, which is null hypothesis with example, alternative hypothesis with examples. Thank you all.